One Piece is an anime that needs no introduction. I mean, I hope, since you were recommended this video and everything. But the Skypiea arc, however, does. Cue intro. Skypiea is one of the most important arcs in all of One Piece, and the most important arc in early One Piece. And if you have seen anything since the end of Wano, this fact is now more blatant and more obvious to you, but at the same time, it is the arc that gets shit on the most. At the beginning I had mentioned that this arc needs an introduction, and the reason for that is that people skip this arc. Why? And that why is a question that they themselves cannot answer. You know why? Because they have never seen the arc to begin with. So the story goes that most people just get recommended to skip Skypiea by their friends because it is apparently useless. And by the way, from the people who have seen Skypiea, in high quotations by the way, the criticisms of bloating and pacing and irrelevance, why, are prevalent. I have genuinely seen people treat this entire arc like a filler arc, to the point that it has gotten the same treatment as Long Wing Longland. And yeah, I'm not saying Long Wing Longland again. And you must be thinking to yourself, if this arc is a setup, then how would people even know if it's important? Isn't it just like the basic thing to just skip it? Because before Wano, everything of this arc just felt like filler. No, that's not the point. The point of this arc is that it is pure adventure. Skypiea is by far the most fun arc in early One Piece. Yes, it's not the most emotional, it's not the most tragic, it doesn't have the most iconic fights or even the most famous villain. But when it comes to what One Piece is about pirates going on adventure on a boat, it doesn't get better than this. And when it comes to pure, unfiltered, childlike wonder, Skypiea is One Piece at its most magical. This is the arc that throws away the safety net, cuts off contact from the rest of the world, and sends our characters literally soaring above the clouds into a land of gods, warriors, and ancient lore. In this video, we're gonna deep dive into everything that makes Skypiea amazing. From its incredible adventure elements, its jaw-dropping world building, the rich historical lore of Shandora, and how this arc quietly plants the seeds that blossom hundreds of chapters later. So come on, let's fly! Part 1. The setup. Skypiea doesn't start in the sky. It starts with a mystery, down in Jaya, and that's the genius of it. After leaving Alabasta, the Straw Hats arrive at Jaya, a grimy, pirate-infested hellhole where dreams get laughed at. Oh, and by the way, Miss Alcinde, or Robin, this is her first adventure with the Straw Hats. Now, continuing on. Now, remember all the laughing at the dreams and stuff? That all was done by a very specific character who is the pack leader of this mob and would later on go to be a quite loved one. But for now, he's the exact opposite of Luffy, where Luffy is a man who chases his dreams no matter how absurd and no matter how little people believe in him. The entire town of Jaya, and especially Bellamy, thrive on laughing and crushing them. And here we meet one of the most important minor characters in One Piece as well, Mont Blanc Cricket. A man who lives his life trying to prove his ancestor wasn't a liar. A man mocked by the world for believing in the legend of the City of Gold. This setup does two things. One, it thematically parallels Luffy. In a world where people mock dreams, here's a man who still chases one. And two, it gives Skypiea a grounded emotional anchor. This isn't just some arc in the clouds, it's connected to general stories of obsession, shame, and redemption. But this arc also introduces us to one of the greatest antagonists ever, Blackbeard, with a speech that will send a chill down your spine to this day. And then, just when things seem rooted in typical piratey grime, boom, a giant lobster launches them into the sky with a pillar of water. Yes, really, that actually happens. Part 2. Skypiea. The moment the squad enters Skypiea, the entire look of One Piece shifts. It's like stepping into a Studio Ghibli movie, a strange dial technology, and mystical creatures. And for once, there's no navy, no marines, no warlord. It's a self-contained ecosystem of joy and danger. And immediately, Oda uses this arc to experiment. We get waivers, milky roads, cloud-made ships, and the introduction of dials, which become critical world-building tools later on in the series. But even more than that, Skypiea lets the Straw Hats just have fun. There's sky surfing, there's exploring ancient ruins, there's eating clouds, there's Usopp being terrified of bugs, the size of houses, and the people are so lovely and so nice and so scared. And this is where all the joy gets flipped on its head. When we won a fall of Enel, the self-proclaimed god of Skypiea. So let's talk of the big bad of this arc. Part 3. Foes in the Sky. Skypiea runs on a god system, and a god here is just basically the strongest man there who enforces law and order on the land. But this system has now been corrupted by a man to the point of dictatorship. And now, one of the most unique antagonists in One Piece, and who also looks like Eminem for some reason, and the only one of his kind at the time. Not just due to the Devil Fruit, the Goro Goro no Mi, the lightning fruit making him a literal man of lightning, making every fight against him and every encounter against him feel utterly hopeless, as not only can you not harm him, every attack you land ends up hurting you. But it's not just Enel, we also get the vassals, Enel's 4 deadly priests. Each has their own domain, weird gimmick, and increasingly ridiculous trial. The swamp guy, the ball guy, the string guy, the fart guy. Okay, maybe not the fart guy, but then there's the Shandians. These aren't villains, they're tragic, a warrior tribe fighting for their stolen homeland. And this is where the arc takes its turn into historical depth. Part 4. The Lore of Shandora. This is where Skypiea quietly becomes one of the most important arcs in the entire series. Because in the middle of the magical sky fantasy is a story about colonization. Hundreds of years ago, the Shandorans were guardians of the ancient city of Shandora, a city filled with golden bells, sculptures, and most importantly, a poneglyph. During the knock upstream, a chunk of Jaya, Shandora included, was blown into the sky. The Skypieans claimed it as their land. War followed, and centuries later the scars remain. And this is insane depth for an arc that people consider irrelevant. And it only gets crazier, because that poneglyph, it was engraved by Kozuki Oden, a very important character later on in the stories, and it talks about the ancient weapon Poseidon. This tiny nugget of lore ends up being critical to the understanding of the Void Century, the Will of D, and even Joy Boy. In other words, Skypiea casually drops some of the biggest lore bombs in all of One Piece history, and most people didn't even notice. Part 5. The Climax. Now let's not forget, we're still in a shonen battle manga. And boy does Skypiea deliver when the fist starts flying. The climax of Skypiea is legendary. Luffy vs Enel takes place inside a massive flying arc made of gold, with lightning clashes all around. It is also easily one of the funniest fights of all time, basically becoming iconic with its memes. Because you see, Enel might be a lightning man, but Luffy is rubber. And Enel's lightning basically has no effect on him, effectively making it the greatest mismatch ever. But to Enel's credit, he did put up a pretty good fight, but our boy clutched up in the end. Another important thing I'd like to mention in the fights of this arc was Sanji. Bro, Sanji did the nothing happened before Zoro, and he did it very cool. That was one of the highlights of the arc, which I don't see a lot of people talking about. But oh, and also check out how cool this panel is. Like, look at it. How can you not be hyped looking at this? Now, it's not just about the fights, it's also about that bell. Remember Cricket? Well, you see, his ancestor, Noland, had found Jaya 400 years ago, when a mysterious bell-ringing sound had saved him and his crew from a storm. A city made of gold. And through trials and tribulations, a lot of trials and tribulations, he and the leader of the Shandian people, Kalgara, became very good friends. One of the major plot points being Kalgara killing the god of their people due to Noland opening his eyes. Ironic. But due to a misunderstanding, Noland and Kalgara left on bad terms. But while Noland was leaving, Kalgara realized his mistake and rung the golden bell, telling Noland to come back soon, and this city will call him with this bell. But before Noland could come back, the city of gold was shot to the sky, and Noland was executed as a liar, because he claimed to have seen a city of gold. His best friend, the Shandian warrior, Kalgara, had sworn to ring the bell so Noland would know the city was real. And now 400 years later, it's Luffy who rung the bell. He punches Enel straight through it, and the sound echoes down to the blue sea. It's a moment of redemption, of truth, of dreams vindicated. And it's so beautiful it hurts. The descendants of both Kalgara and Noland being united to this ring. Part 6. The Aftermath. After the battle, the Skypians and Shandians finally reconciled. The Golden City is discovered, the bell is heard, peace is restored. And the Straw Hats, they don't take the gold, they leave it behind. Because for them, this was never about treasure. It was about the adventure. A funny scene at the end of Skypiea was that the Skypians actually wanted to help them out and give them gold and stuff, but they just ran off. Because to them, that gold and all, it meant nothing. It was about the adventure, something for some reason a lot of One Piece fans just don't get. They got to visit a city in the sky, on clouds, fight a lightning god, learn ancient secrets, and bring peace to a land torn by history. What more could you want?
Oh yeah, and also, Enel went to the moon. Why? I have no idea, but he's on the moon.
Now this is the part where I go into what Skypiea sets up. It's a legacy basically. Because Skypiea isn't just a fun detour, it's the narrative time bomb that pays off years later. It introduces the poneglyphs, it introduces the concept of ancient weapons, it hints at Joy Boy, it connects to Kozuki Oden, it shows the world's forgotten history, it establishes dials which the crew keeps using for hundreds of chapters, and thematically, it proves that dreams matter. People mocked Nolan, they laughed at Cricket, they denied the existence of the Sky Island, but the Straw Hats, they believed, they soared, and in doing so they proved that the world is far bigger, stranger, and more magical than anyone ever imagined. And also, damn, Oda is a creative genius. And even if you take out all of that, Skypiea is a love letter to adventure. It's a story about belief, history, and wonder. It has gods, warriors, bells, and clouds. The Straw Hats quite literally entering a whole new world with its own everything. It's Oda swinging for the fences and saying, what if we just did something insane and made it work? And he did, and a lot of you guys do not appreciate it. Skypiea isn't just the most fun arc in One Piece, it's one of the most important, and it's the moment when One Piece said, it isn't just a pirate story, it's a world. So the next time you're skipping Skypiea, don't! Go back and rewatch it in fact, or reread it, anything which you prefer, because if you do skip it, you're skipping one of the most greatest stories the sky has ever told. Guys, if you like my video, please like and subscribe, because I really want you to, and also it helps out with the algorithm, so thanks. I'm kind of running a bit of a cold. I was running it in my last video as well, which was about Naruto. Go watch that, that's pretty cool. And I'm running it now too, and so that's why my voice is so stuffy and shit. But yeah. But also, share this video with your friends. Now skip Skypiea and don't like it for some reason. And also let me know down in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Skypiea? Do you love it? Do you think it's okay? Do you just hate fun and adventure? Let me know all of that down below. Skypiea is one of those arcs which, ever since childhood, it just isn't getting the appreciation it deserves from YouTube and from my friends, and I just want to put it out there. This is the best arc when it comes to adventure and fun, one of the best I have seen in fiction, with one world having another world in it which is so rich and diverse. This is genuinely such a good arc, and the second best arc in early One Piece, the only other one being Water 7 and his Lobby, which I always count as the same arc. So cheers to the most fun and the most adventurous arc in all of One Piece, with amazing characters, amazing systems, amazing technology, and an amazing self-contained world which later pays off dividendly. So yeah, that's about it. This has been Venantious, folks. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace. God bless you.